And so lastly, I'd like to talk a little bit about how language relates to social power and inequality. And so language ideology just means that these are the beliefs people have about the superiority of one language or a dialect of a language, and then on the flip side, the inferiority of others. Okay, this serves to link language with identity, morality, and aesthetics, and it also helps shape our image of who we are as individuals and as members of social groups or institutions beyond them. Okay, and so anthropologically, there's no correct way to speak a language. They're just more and less privileged versions of a language. So a Southern dialect is not any less correct than a kind of neutral American dialect. It's just more or less privileged. Okay, so language kind of can legitimate you as an individual or within a group, or it can define what is inferior or socially inferior in terms of a group or an individual. And so I'm aware, coming from a place that has that can have a very thick Southern dialect, I am aware that when I speak this way, I sound more intelligent, compared to if I were to speak this way, I don't sound quite as intelligent. And it doesn't matter that I'm saying the same words or that I'm the exact same person. The way I use my language can indicate superiority or inferiority or intelligence. Okay, and so this is the point we're getting at, that language, even though it seems kind of like it shouldn't influence those things, it actually does. So the way we use our language influences how others perceive us and can influence what we consider to be ideal or moral or intelligent and things of that nature. Okay. Another example of this we kind of talked about a little bit at the beginning of this section, but the way we use our language in gender roles, so different gender roles. This is a classic study, but female speech patterns, and females are expected to express hesitation, repetition, and uncertainty more than male individuals. So saying things multiple times or adding a question to the end. So I think I gave the example of like, it's 4 o'clock, isn't it? Instead of just saying, right, it's 4 o'clock. So those are two different speech patterns saying the same thing, but one is expected of a woman and one is expected of a male. Okay, and so in our culture, this is very expected, that this is how women speak, and speaking differently challenges that gender role, and it makes people uncomfortable. Whether they know it or not, they're expecting women to speak with hesitation and repetition and include uncertainty in what they're saying differently than they expect those things of men. And unfortunately, these characteristics can be detrimental in professional situations and allow women to be kind of walked over because of the way we're expected to speak. And so, again, we're just saying that language can have a greater influence than you might think. It can influence inferiority and can make larger ripples in the culture and in your personal life than you might initially think. So these language ideologies, these beliefs about what is superior and what is inferior in terms of language, are closely tied to creation and maintenance of social status and prestige. So I have just an example there for you. On the island of Java, individuals are very conscious of status. So it's something that's always on their minds. They're maintaining their status and they are aware of other people's status. And so politeness and position in the society are expressed in how they speak in almost everything they're saying. So there's 3 different registers. There's informal, intermediary, and polite speech. And so these are kind of related to social class and your social hierarchy. So if you're in the lowest social class, you're going to be using informal speech, and you might not even be able to understand or speak in polite speech. And so in our culture, we don't blend informal and formal speech generally. So if I'm like meeting the President of the United States, I'm going to speak very formally, and he will speak formally to me. That is his position. That is my position. And if I'm talking with my best friend, we're going to speak very informally to each other. Whether she makes more money than me or I make more money than her, we're both going to speak informally to each other. On the island of Java, the words used by speaker and listener are different and mark their social status. So if someone has a higher social status, he or she will speak in polite speech, and the lower status individual will speak in informal speech. And this continues to reinforce those differences in social status that you might see with language. And so the way we use our language is different in different cultures, right? Because we already said that in the U.S. we don't do this. We generally speak the same level of formality, even if we are of different social status, if we're meeting for some reason. On Java, they do it differently, and this reinforces their cultural emphasis on social status and its creation and maintenance. And so again, we're seeing that cyclical influential pattern of language influencing culture and culture influencing language there.